Chuck, I wouldn't push a shutdown. I think you go to court. And
you would go to the courts. You wouldn't do this legislatively.
I go to the courts because I think there's a pretty compelling argument. I mean, Rick, you alluded to that.
Who's the aggrieved party in this, by the way? Because I've assumed there is going to be a court challenge, but I'm curious, who is the aggrieved party that would file this?
I think the American people. But the thing that, one quick thing on that, John, I'll go to Rick, but John said something I agree with, but it's interesting. Bill Clinton did not say, the Republicans in Congress aren't going along with me, so I'm going to do an executive order to do a balanced budget. He sat down with you.
No, the government got shut down first, and there was tremendous, animosity. Scott, it wasn't at all. Yeah, it was.
But he did not issue an executive order after that to make that happen.
No, he vetoed our welfare reform, Medicaid.
He had to sit down with you, though. I mean, isn't that the difference here, though? You've got a president, set aside immigration. What this president is doing, a president who has repeatedly said over the last 2 years that he's the president of the United States, not an emperor, a president who repeatedly said, as Rick alluded to, that this is illegal, he can't do it, he defended it time and time again when he was pressured by activists that he couldn't do this, is now going to take action. And I think it'd be hard-pressed not to find anybody but a partisan Democrat who wouldn't say that this is illegal. That's a big difference from saying, I want some give and take. There's no give on his part.
Well, let me tell you, when you're sitting around and you got Newt Gingrich and Bob Dole at each other over a shutdown, I mean, it wasn't easy either. My only point is, I don't like what he's doing. I don't agree with what he's doing. I think he's making a mistake in doing it. But what I will say is, this is emblematic of where we're going forward as a country. I mean, are we going to deal with the real problems of health care? Are we going to deal with the problem of immigration? Are we going to deal with the problem of a divided country? I mean, we're not. Look, one thing I learned in Congress is if we had not gotten the Clinton people to the table to negotiate, and they didn't get we didn't get everything we wanted. We got a lot of it, but we didn't get everything we wanted. Had we not done it, we would never have balanced the budget. Nothing gets fixed. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, nothing gets fixed without some bipartisan support. You can't do it without bipartisan support, so you got to look for the places. And look, I did it. I was one of the architects of that balanced budget. I know what it was like, and it wasn't fun. You have Madeleine Albright come in and talk to you about foreign aid, and I mean, that's enough. That's enough for a lifetime.
I would say this president doesn't want us focused on things like a North American energy policy, about repealing Obamacare in light of the Gruber announcements. He doesn't want us focused on lowering the tax burden, on balancing the budget, on reducing the national debt. Those are the things that Republicans were elected to do. In the House, in the Senate, they're exactly the things we're doing as governors. And I think that's why this president's making such a big deal about it right now, just shy of 2 weeks after the election, because he wants to divert attention from the very things Americans embodied, empowered Republicans to do, both in Washington and our state.
But you see, this is emblematic of the overall tone that we hear in America today. The country's just too divided. It's like, well, you got your stuff, I got my stuff. What did we end up with? When we finally had the feelers, when we finally were able to work through many tough issues, we got a balanced budget in 1997, the first time we had one since man walked on the moon. We paid down the largest amount of the national debt, and we had prosperity. Did I like everything Bill Clinton was doing? What, are you kidding? But at the end of the day, guess what? Good people need to be committed to solving problems. And we say, okay, border bill first. He says, no border bill first. Maybe it can't be worked out, but everybody in the country knows we have a problem here in the country, and they may not like his solution or our solution, but they want this fixed. People want problems solved, and you got to be careful with the rhetoric, because you get too far out on that, and people don't want to deal. We got to think about what's going to bring about healing. Now, in my sense is, I don't like the idea of citizenship when people jump the line. We may have to do it. It may be a laborious and tough process. Mm-hmm. I would never say you would never do it. I wouldn't say that. I don't know that we have to do that. If we allow them to stay here, we allow them to work and everything else, because we're not going to put them on buses and ship them to the border. The issue of citizenship, I've heard lots of voices on it, right. And I'm not closed to it. You know why? Because everybody in this country has to feel as though they have an opportunity. Everybody, and I know what they did. I know they jumped the line. I don't like it. There's a lot of people who have gone through legally who have not jumped the line, who are bitter about this. But at the end of the day, it may be necessary. I'm open to it. I will tell you that. I'm open to it. Governor Perry.